So I decided to put together this video on running Ollama and Open WebUI in Docker Compose because I didn't see any good examples online that I could find. The only real prerequisite for this video is that you have Docker installed. You can figure that out just by running something like Docker PS to see what services you have up, if you have any. As you can see, I have the two services that I'm going to show you running, so I'm just going to take those down quickly here. Alright, so just a few things to mention. The Ollama service will be running on port 11434. This is important because Open WebUI has to connect to it. You can see the Ollama API base URL requires the Ollama API, and we need the port in there. This is probably a good example for an environment variable, similar to like we're using here. If the environment variable doesn't exist, then we'll just use the default after the hyphen, which is main in this case. You'll want the Ollama directory and Open WebUI directory created because we reference them in volumes here. This is so if you take down the service and bring it back up, you don't have to pull the models that you've pulled already. Another thing is the deployment options here. This gives Docker access to our NVIDIA graphics card. It'll just make chatting with models quicker. This YAML file will be available on my website as well as on GitHub shortly, just so you don't have to type it all out again. So once you have the YAML file created, you should be able to start up with a Docker Compose up. This will bring up the two services, LLaMa and Open WebUI. I like running it in the foreground so you can see the logs. As you can see here, we have confirmation that it is accessing the graphics card, so we should be able to chat with the LLMs a little bit faster. Now that we have our services up and running successfully, we should be able to see that they're running in the browser. Let's go check that out. So just in the browser here, you should be able to confirm that both services are running. So if we navigate to localhost port 11434, we can see that Ollama is running, and localhost 3001, it'll bring you to a page for authentication. You'll have to create an account at first, but after that you should be able to sign in, and it gives you this lovely user interface that kind of looks like ChatGPT. And we go to select model here, we see that it's empty, and that's what we'll do next, is pull a model in Ollama and then start chatting with it. Back in Visual Studio Code here, you can see our terminal is still busy, so we will create another one. We need the container information. What we're looking for specifically is Ollama's container ID. We want to sort of remote into it with the docker exec command. We'll grab the container ID and then access bash. So once you have access to the terminal in the Ollama container, this is where you're able to run those Ollama commands that you'll find on the GitHub page. So we can use Ollama list to see what models we have pulled. We don't have any at the moment, so let's go ahead and pull one. This will take a few minutes because you can see the file size is about 5 gigabytes. Once the model is completed downloading, we'll just confirm that it is there, and then we can just open up the browser again in Open WebUI. Back in the browser, we can check the model list, see it's still empty. All you have to do is refresh it. And there's LLaMa 3.1. And we can add a new message, start chatting with it. We can just grab one of these The first time it runs, it does take a little bit longer. I think it takes around a minute or so, so I'll just skip forward. Okay, so that actually only took about 30 seconds. Wonder if it's because I just had too much stuff running in the background last time, so let's just give a little bit more information and see how quick it is. Okay, so it's pretty much instantly. So that pretty much does it for getting some of these LLMs to run locally without having to install any of the software. You just need Docker installed. I like using this approach a little bit better because it's just easier to update the software by just pulling new images, and you don't really have to worry about any of the host dependencies. This will probably be the kind of basis for a lot of the other work I'm going to be doing with LLMs, just using Ollama to host it. Tested it out with Open WebUI just because it's pretty easy to get up and running. Again, I'll have that YAML file on my website and on GitHub just so you can copy and paste it instead of having to type it out yourself. And if you have any suggestions on how I can make this better, YAML file or any other process, please feel free to leave a comment. Thanks.